Hey, it's your old pal Slim, and this is 70mm, a podcast for film lovers just like you. Every Monday, I chat about recently watched movies with my close friend and artist, Danny Haas. And our close friend and movie insider, Protolexis.
Apparently, I did see the first one at some point, because doesn't someone kicks his dog off a bridge or something?
Every month, we have a new theme that guides our featured discussion for that episode. And this month, it's The Last Temptation of 70mm, films focused on the spiritual, the religious, and the beyond. Proto's pick is Wings of Desire from 1987. Are angels among us? And if they are, do they yearn to be human? All this and more now.
How about you tell us about your? I've been dying to hear about your experience of watching Brief Encounter.
Oh.
Can we talk about Brief Encounter, please?
We can. We can indeed, Proto. I shuffled it on Weekend Watch List, the Letterboxd Show podcast, which is our way of like cycling through movies that are on a watch list sitting there forever. I don't remember when the heck I added it, but it was streaming on HBO. David Lean, your boy, Proto.
Mm-hmm.
You're a David Lean
the lean
advocate.
machine.
You're a leaner. We'll come up with a better name for that.
I don't think you can say leaner.
A limp.
So Brief Encounter is 1945, black and white. And, you know, for David Lean, who did Lawrence of Arabia, Bridge on the River Kwai, Dr. Zhivago, Passage to India, The Passionate Friends, which I also loved.
Bangers.
And this one is about like a housewife who goes into the city on the train every week. She does like errands. She goes to the movies. That's like her day kind of off. And on one of those days, she runs into this doctor, doesn't pay any mind to it, and then sees him again the next week at the train station. And then they like develop this like kind of friendship, like this flirty friendship. And over the course of a few weeks, they realize that it's developing into something else, you know, like her doing large part to like what her current husband like doesn't provide her. You know, she goes home, he's always like doing crosswords, he's not listening to her at all. And you never really see the side of the man in this relationship, so it's really focused on her. But I thought the writing was incredible. It's black and white, visually stunning. I mean, I don't have to go into detail what I thought of Lawrence of Arabia visuals, but like in black and white in like this train station in the 40s, them going to the movies, them kind of going to lunch together, you know, like taking the chance on going out to lunch with a man that's not your husband. And like she runs into friends of hers after lunch and she's like anxiety ridden, like, oh my God, my friends saw us like having lunch. What was I like during our lunch? Like, what's this mean? And then that eventually develops. I thought like all of that stuff and that emotion, that writing was amazing. I give it 5 stars. I loved it.
Goodness, 5 stars.
HBO Max and Criterion, Proto.
Yeah. I watched this. I think this was the first movie when we did the Lean Journey. I think that was in 2021. So this was maybe my second David Lean I saw, and I was blown away, especially by the fact that you could see why I felt like you could see why he went on to do like these larger than life movies, because even though the story is like very intimate about this couple, it just felt like the weight of the world was on their relationship.
Yeah.
And the way David Lean was able to do that through his storytelling was just so impressive.
I mean, that scene with his friend's apartment. Do you remember that scene later in the movie? It's not a spoiler, but like that was like insane. And he did The Passionate Friends a couple years later. Have you ever seen that, Proto?
No.
I'd be interested to get your take on that because I saw some strong similarities in that one to this. specifically, like certain scenes specifically. So yeah, I mean, you and several others like commented on my Letterboxd review. Like, it's a beloved movie for a reason. Danny, when are you gonna watch it?
I will say soon, maybe. Brief Encounter sounds really interesting, and you raving about the visuals of this black and white have me interested.
Proto also gave it 5 stars.
You both are 5 stars.
Double
on this.
5 bang.
Easy 5.
Oh, it's an easy 5. Well then,
Easiest 5 of my life.
oh gosh. Then maybe soon. That sounds. I mean, I want to see it now.
If you could pause your John Wick journey for just a mere night.
I've paused. I haven't been able to go on to 3 yet.
Pause the 3.5 star, the raving 3.5 star reviews for the John Wick franchise for some different kind of cinema. But just real briefly, later in the show, Wings of Desire is our featured presentation. This is Proto's pick for still final name to be determined. The Last Temptation of 70mm. You know, we're focusing on the spiritual, the religious, and the beyond, whatever that may be. So that's Proto's pick. He can use the chapters to skip ahead to that discussion. Wim Wenders, Nick Cave, Bono.
These are all real names.
Bono is in Bono's mainly related to the sequel with their famous track. Danny and I were watching the music video earlier. Stay Far Away So Close.
Banger.
How about the hair, the long ponytail hair that almost everyone had?
But he had the bow in it, like Gaston from Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
It's impressive.
Josh left a review for our film today. I felt like the GOAT. Getting through this was a balancing act, and I just wanted to get off. 2 stars from Josh for Wings of Desire.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you for joining us on the journey. I do want to delve into this John Wick journey a little bit.
Yes.
Is the buzz getting the best of you, Danny? Did it force you to start watching these movies?
Well, I had seen them before, but only once. I think I only saw them the one time. I couldn't remember a damn thing about them except for the obvious, the dog and the wife stuff in the beginning, the first one. And then the fourth is out, and Casey had mentioned wanting to see it in the theaters, so I figured I have time while I'm working this week to watch 1, 2, and 3. I got through 1 and 2, and really? I just, they're fun. They're a lot of fun. Great action sequences in them. I don't feel like they're redefining the action drama or the action genre.
Wow.
Cinema, but it's a lot of fun. Keanu's amazing in it, and there's a gorgeous Mustang.
People are calling the new one better than Blade Runner. I've seen reviews. I've seen Lawrence of Arabia, Blade Runner. This is the new number 1.
I don't believe him. I can't believe him.
Proto, where do you stand on John Wick? You ever seen these?
I wasn't sure.
He's got stars up there for the first one. I saw.
What is it?
Yeah. Apparently I did see the first one at some point. Because doesn't someone kicks his dog off a bridge or something?
Oh,
isn't that from Anchorman? Doesn't Jack Black do that to Anchorman?
Oh yeah, you're right.
You starred the wrong movie.
Easy mistake.
That kick is so funny.
Yeah, I had seen the first one, but I'll be honest, these type of movies, they're just not really for me. So I don't know if I have any interest in watching them.
I want to see the fourth one. I'm tired of seeing these 5 stars in my feed. People seeing neon lights for the first time in a movie. It's like their eyes have been opened to a whole new world. Maybe they're right. I got to see it. But I did see a near DNF come through this week that we had to get into. Some people were saying it could be the end of Darren Aronofsky, according to Proto's review.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, a rare occurrence in my household. Jenna wanted to pick a movie, and she picked The Whale.
Oh no.
Darren Aronofsky's newest picture that with our boy Brendan Fraser just won he won the Oscar, right?
Correct.
Oh, yeah.
For this.
Our boy.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Aronofsky. there seems to be something wrong when you look at the movies he's made. I just
Let it out.
Let it out. We're here for you.
There's something wrong. This is objectively not good storytelling. I think I can say that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not a well done movie. Like I think I read that this was a stage play originally, so it was adapted for the screen, and it just doesn't really work on any level. It's so heavy handed, and kind of does the opposite of everything that I want to have in a movie. Really, Brendan was good. If I didn't know, like, I would have never thought to give him an Oscar for this performance, though.
Wow.
Like, I don't think it's that good.
Wow.
I think it's just people. You put somebody in a costume, and people eat it up, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I always think of. I remember I hadn't seen the movie. I haven't seen this movie either, but I remember when Charlize Theron won for the movie Monster, and she had she was completely transformed. And they always give people who do this in movies this best actor, best actress. But but watching it, I think it's hard to remove, like, is it good acting or is it good makeup and costuming? So I don't know. I wasn't really impressed by Brendan's performance, really, but there was just so much that was bad. And in my review, I just said I barely made it through this movie and finished it. But
didn't makeup and costuming also win the Oscar?
Who can say?
I think you're the only one who watched the Oscars, Danny.
Then yes, they did.
Marcy in chat, makeup and hair, yes.
Thank you, Marcy.
Aronofsky, a lot of people saying after you posted that review, is he finished? His last 3 movies, The Whale, Mother, ! And Noah.
You hated Mother too, Proto.
Yeah.
A strong dislike from you.
It's hard to say which one's worse. Oh gosh. If I could go back and erase one experience, it'd probably be Mother. So I guess Whale's maybe the better movie.
Wow. What's your favorite Aronofsky, Danny?
Probably Requiem.
What about The Fountain?
One and Done. The Fountain I've only seen once as well, I think.
The Wrestler.
But I haven't seen Black Swan.
Oh, that's the right answer.
What? That I haven't seen it?
That's like one of Proto's favorite movies, isn't it?
I haven't seen it. I do know Proto loves it. There's been plenty of reface Proto on the Black Swan body images.
That was
in our
like
DMs.
the heyday of reface, is when you put Proto on Natalie Portman in Black Swan.
It's an OG.
It was uncanny.
We haven't posted that video in Discord in a long time. It might be time to bring it out of retirement. Out of the Disney vault, maybe. New patrons this week. Michael and Eleanor all joined at patreon.com/70mm. Got access to our VHS Village Discord, discounts on our prints, well, Danny's prints, and all the other merch on the storefront. And we just put an Alfred Hitchcock Presents episode in there for supporters, and we're very close to the official launch of our next batch of supporter episodes, which will be chosen by our interns and Proto's elaborate cage setup on IG Live. So stay tuned. We're very close.
Yeah, I think I plan to do a live pre-recording of the our Holy Month announcement. So look for that on IG as well.
Wow. I don't even know what that means.
Yeah, it may not happen. So you may have to go back and cut this out later. I'll let you know on Sunday.
Stay tuned. Turn on those notifications on IG. That's what you need to do. Make sure you're the first to know when Proto flips that live button on Instagram. We could talk about that documentary I watched.
Yeah, get into it.
About it. Amanda asked me, she said something that sent chills down my spine. Do you want to watch the documentary with me?
What?
I knew it was a trap right from the get-go. I started to think that, what are you going to try to get me to do? What do you want me to change? What am I doing wrong? And I knew that was going to be the case. It's a documentary called The Game Changers. Came out a couple years ago. It's about this UFC fighter. It's a documentary, UFC fighter who hurt his knees, and he started to research in his time off how to recover better. But it led him to read about like being vegan.
Oh my
And listen, I'm not the person that needs to tell people to watch a documentary about veganism. Having said that, it was very good. It was probably the only thing I paid attention to, someone telling me the benefits of it. It's not about like the not that I'm saying there's anything wrong with this, but mainly save the animals. This one is geared towards like prolonging your life, being a better athlete, and like all this other stuff. So I thought that aspect was fascinating. They interviewed like athletes who were vegan, Olympians, and they had like medical stuff to back up that like your blood can flow better on, on a vegan diet.
When did you watch
stuff.
this?
This is tonight, right before
So
recording.
after the photos of you downing wings today hit Discord.
Yeah. So that might have keyed Amanda off. She says, probably I've had enough of this. It's time for us to watch this documentary. Paul in chat, I've had a very health conscious friend of mine recommend to me so many times. Casey depressingly asks, why do people want to live longer? Casey, maybe we'll answer that question in The Last Temptation of 70mm. Could be right around the corner, the answer to that question.
Today the episode for Bat and Spiders 150 dropped, our dear friends over there, and I decided to follow them on their journey, and I watched Ed Wood for the first time today and gave it 5 stars.
5.
I loved watching that movie. I had never seen Ed Wood. It was on my short list for when we were doing movies about movies month.
Same.
And I was trying to do the art for the episode today, but I couldn't stop looking at the screen. Johnny Depp was amazing in it. I think this is easily one of my favorite of Depp's performances. He's so good in this. And I think it's probably close to my favorite Tim Burton movie. I mean, it was just really well done. I loved the story. Ed just felt a bit inspirational watching him just trying to get his art done and made and people to see it. And I had a great time watching it. It's a great film. And, oh my gosh, what's his name that played Bela Lugosi? Was
Tim
incredible.
Burton.
No. Matthau. Not
Ed.
Matthau.
Walter Matthau?
Wow. What a
Jack
role for him.
Lemmon.
I can't stop.
Bill Murray.
You're
Martin
killing me.
Landau.
Landau,
Chat
thank you.
says.
He's incredible as Bela Lugosi, and he like stole the show. It was hilarious. Great movie.
50 episodes for Bat and Spider.
Yeah,
Great
congratulations.
episode, too. I
them.
listened to it this
It's a
morning.
great episode.
It's always the first thing I do Thursday mornings.
Oh, really?
Got to listen to my Bat and Spider.
Bat and Spider, chicken
Gotta
wings,
have it.
vegan documentary.
Listen, the Nashville hot chicken wings from Aldi are pretty good.
Have you gotten any of the Aldi clothes yet?
No, they were like sold out.
Still sold out of the
They're sold
clothes?
out
You haven't
last
got that
weekend.
drip?
I can't get the drip that I want. Not from Aldi. Oh, there was something I want to remind myself to talk about in the post show. We haven't talked
Okay.
about Mando at all.
We'll post show it
Post show, okay. Supporters can listen to a Mando chat later.
so that live chat can bounce if they don't want to hear us yap about this.
We got to get into Mando. Purdy, you're caught up?
No.
Did you watch last season?
Yes.
Oh. Only like 5
course.
behind. 4 behind.
All right, Wings of Desire, 1987, Wim Wenders. As we mentioned before, Holy Month, April religious. We're focusing on the spiritual, the religious, and the beyond. This is Pardo's pick. What's this movie about?
It's 1987, and there are angels in Berlin. They walk the streets, listening to the thoughts of those driving in a car, sitting in the park, reading in the library. They can't be seen, but sometimes they are felt as they observe and verify, and at times comfort the souls of those affected by time. The angel Damiel watches Marion, a circus performer, and falls in love. Having observed the stillness of the earth before life, the rise of humanity from the dust, the rising and falling of empires, and the birth and death of countless souls, Damiel now wishes to shrug off his wings and know what it is like to be human. Wings of Desire.
Proto was reading that, I was watching the deep face of Proto as Natalie Portman. It's ridiculous how good that is.
It's insane.
It's sick.
Have you ever seen Natalie and Proto in the same room?
No. No one. Oh my God. Did you ever make the Star Wars ones too? I can't. Now I'm trying to think if you ever made Star Wars Proto Natalie
We need
Portman.
to go down to Proto Portman.
Yeah, we need to
Protman.
continue down the path. The Protman path. All right. So Wim Wenders was talked about last week. Proto threw the gauntlet down to Danny. We all remembered it.
Wait, what did he say?
He said Danny's going to hate this. He hates Wim Wenders. He's going to have a visceral reaction to this movie.
True.
How did you feel when Proto said that last week?
I like a good challenge. And at this point in our podcasting career, I feel like Proto knows me quite well. So that's not to say I didn't like this or that I did. Not talking yet.
Save it.
But listen, I trust my friends.
You have to. If you can't trust your friends, you can't trust anybody. I never. So full disclosure, when Proto first said this movie and I looked at the poster, I thought this was like a movie from the 50s or the 40s or something. And then I started I think that night I was like looking at photos. I was like, wait a minute. This is from the 80s. So other than that, that's it. I don't have any kind of Wim Wenders backstory outside of the fact that I've seen Paris, Texas. And Paris, Texas is like, it's like almost everyone's favorite movie, period. Paris, Texas fans will choke you to death if you don't like that movie. Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
It's true.
I gave it 3.5 stars.
Oh.
So I think I barely escaped a choke.
You got a noogie.
It gave me the Danny Haas swirly in the bathroom wearing the varsity jacket. But other than that, no real history outside of hearing Proto talk about it until the end of the world. So Proto, did you know that there was a sequel as well? And did you know, I can't remember if you had mentioned this last week, but it's like loosely remade into that movie with Nick Cage and Meg Ryan, City of Angels.
Yeah, I didn't know any of that until I was Googling this afternoon a little bit. The movie ends with a to be continued, which I thought was maybe just some kind of
poetic
sly,
thing.
Poetic thing. And then to look up, like, no, he actually did make a sequel to this movie, which seems just, I don't know. I'm curious now, but I would have never thought that this movie needed a sequel.
Right.
But it's fascinating. And then also the fact that, there's a Nick Cage version as well.
Did Dune copy it from Wings of Desire, the film Dune? You know? Was this was a trick?
Yeah.
This is like Wings of Desire Part 1.
Denny was inspired.
Could be.
Well, Part 2, I think I watched an interview with Vem, and he was talking about how Part 2, he wanted to go back to Berlin to do it because the wall had come down after he had filmed this, the first one. And he said it was a different city, different country at the time. So refilming almost a remake of the movie felt right. And it has almost the exact same cast. The Marion's back, the two angels are back, and then like Willem Dafoe's in it. U2 wrote a song for it, which is a banger. So it's just, I think he had said that people had found out that was a sequel to Wings of Desire and then didn't give it a chance because it was a sequel.
Interesting.
That was his take.
Okay. So this segment, we'll just kind of go around the room with the major points that we want to bring up in our discussion, and then we'll give our final thoughts and letterbox rating. So Proto, this is your pick. What's the first thing you want to bring up?
I'd like to talk about the writing and I guess just like the thoughts that you hear throughout this movie from different characters. And it's one of the main ideas in this is that the angels move around the world and they can hear the thoughts of the people in the world. So you get some very like clear, like the camera's pointing at a person, you're hearing their thoughts. But then as the movie progresses, it kind of goes off from there where it almost feels like you're hearing either an essay, speaking about a certain idea, philosophical idea, or life and death, whatever it might be, childhood, adulthood. I think it's even there's some quotes from a poet in this. So there's, and I didn't know this when I picked this movie. There's a lot of reading because it is
A lot of reading.
It's mostly in German. So it's an interesting experience to have all this to take in as you're watching it. And the things that you're reading or that's being spoken is pretty heady stuff, I think, of just like these ideas. And you really have to like focus and be engaged with it. But I really did enjoy the writing and this format of speaking on these different ideas. And I had this experience. I think the one that was really compelling to me was there's this character, this elderly man who, not the main angel, but the other one, I think is Cassiel, follows around. And he's speaking about what it was like, or he has this great line where he's talking about like when he was younger and what the world used to be like. Yeah, he says, "My heroes are no longer warriors and kings, but the things of peace, one just as good as the next." And I was like really struck by that and struck by a lot of things in this movie. But they almost, to me, like there were so many things to like you would want to sit and consider. But there was like so much. Mm-hmm. There were, at least to me. So I'm curious as to what you guys thought of that.
It's dense. It's very dense. I was rewinding quite often.
Oh, really?
While watching this. Yeah, because, I mean, it's not even like I didn't feel like I wasn't paying attention, but like it was just happening so often. And like a lot of these scenes, it's like, you said it's like essays. It's like full-on philosophical essays. In between the moments of just following someone who's just like, will they ever call me? Or like, I'm sad. Or like some of the people that are like near suicidal. And those are like more literal like thoughts that you're reading. Whereas the other stuff can get really deep. Like even with the ballet, like some of that stuff I found like almost like impenetrable. Like even the way it was written, I don't know if it was like the translation or just that kind of philosophical like essay style writing is just so thick for me to like dig into. And if you're not into that, I mean, those scenes are like 5 minutes long, like of the ballet thought process. What do you think, Danny?
Yeah, I found it really hard to connect with anyone in this film because of the style of writing and not only, I mean, it wasn't necessarily having to read the subtitles of German. It was almost like, because it wasn't so much of it wasn't like a conversation. It was not just the essays, even just cutting back and forth between the thoughts of people as the angels walk by, or it was just, it felt so, at times so random that it was like something heavy would be said and be so fleeting, and then be already on to someone else talking about something else. Or, I don't know. It was just hard to connect with characters and what was going on. I mean, I was very grateful for when they introduced the old man, like you said, Homer, because he felt like the one character where you could follow his storyline. You can kind of catch up to what he's talking about and where he's coming from. And, but it was hard to follow this movie.
You know, Proto reminds me of the movie that I just watched and that you liked a lot, which was The Addiction, that vampire movie that followed the philosophy major.
Yeah.
I'm like, now that I'm thinking about it, there's so many connections between those two movies and a lot of those scenes.
The guy that played Homer, by the way, Kurt Bois, he is the pickpocket in Casablanca.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Same actor. Yeah.
It's also the main angel in this. What's his name? Bruno Ganz. He plays like Hitler in that meme scene.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
The one that was like everywhere for years.
Yeah. One thing I didn't really love about the whole hearing their thoughts is that, and I get it's hard to even know what a thought is necessarily, but the thoughts were so much like someone is speaking,
Mhm.
which of course makes sense in a movie. But I feel like when you actually are thinking about things, you're not like thinking in full sentences.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
It's
Like,
a thought.
It's a thought. It's almost like it's a combination of words and like feelings at the same time. And if someone asked you like what you're thinking about, you could tell them, but the actual thought isn't in like those type of words.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So the idea that angels are overhearing people's thoughts is, I mean, for a movie, it makes sense. The only other thing I didn't love about it is that all the thoughts were so like, this is the state of my life. Like no one was like, I wonder what I'm having for lunch today, which I feel like is what most people are thinking about, just like
Right.
normal everyday things.
And
Can't wait
also
to eat
in the
that hoagie.
middle, and in the middle of all this, you have the love story building between the angel and the trapeze artist. And it's like, there's just so much to follow.
My number one, Peter Falk.
Oh,
Peter Falk. I had no idea he was in this until some folks were posting in the Discord about Peter Falk being in this. And it was, I think he even had a strange credit to start out the movie. It was like with a special appearance by Peter Falk.
Yeah.
And he's in like the first scene. He's on the plane thinking that this like movie he's working on might not work out or something is, it's not going well, or he doesn't think it's going to connect. And then all his scenes, he's speaking English, and he meets up. There's one scene where he, essentially says that he can feel you, angel, that you're here. Like, I know you're here.
Mhm.
He's like having a conversations with the angel. And the angel's kind of like surprised by this. And eventually they do meet up later in the movie when the angel is now mortal. And he like reveals to him, Peter Falk's like, yeah, I was an angel too. And I wasn't expecting that at all. I thought that was like, overall, his role, his being in this movie is strange, but I don't mean that as a detriment. It's just a very bizarre role. He plays himself, but he's also a former angel.
Well, you go from hearing these essays and this kind of poetic speak in German from person to person, and then you go to Peter Falk just being Peter Falk. It's so jarring. It's such a weird addition to this movie. And like you said, there's nothing wrong with Peter in this. He's great. I love Peter in this movie. When he looks at dead on the camera and he's got his eyes looking right at you and somewhere else at the same time. I love this man.
He looks fantastic. His hat.
I was really
game.
hoping he'd speak German in this. I hear Peter Falk German.
Ich bin ein Falk. Pardo, what did you think of Peter Falk in this?
Yeah, I loved him in this. I thought there's something, maybe it's like this actor. There's almost something like sentimental about him. Something very, I don't know if like old school's the right word but I want to say like he reminds me of the movie It's a Wonderful Life, almost of like this like timeless classic figure who feels like he kind of fits in to this movie. And I'm curious as to, like why Wim Wenders chose to have him in this role. And I wonder if it's like this connection to have like this real person that we all know. There's even a scene where these construction workers walk by him and they're like, hey, is that Columbo? And they're like, nah, it's not it. So it's like, like this is the real world. This is him there. And maybe in that way, it kind of makes it feel like makes a connection between our world that's real. Like here's a real person that we know and this fictional story about the world.
Danny, what's the first thing you want to bring up?
First thing I want to talk about is the cinematography, black and white to color of this movie. I was in love with all the black and white scenes. I thought they were gorgeous, incredibly shot. And then when it switches to color, for like, I want to say, I don't know, however many seconds it was color, I didn't notice. Like my brain, for some reason, was like fine with it all of a sudden color. And I'm like, wait, when did it switch?
Mm-hmm.
Like it hurt my brain. But I watched an interview with Wim today talking about making this. And he said that the version that everyone saw for about 20 years was like 6 degrees separated from the original film, because at the time, them filming in black and white and in color were 2 separate versions of film, and they couldn't be combined. So they had to reshoot the black and white stuff on color film, however they did it, to put it on the color film for all to work together. And they said because of that, the black and white film had some blue tint to it, some green tint to it, and it wasn't pure black and white. So the stuff we see now is the restoration of the original film from the first prints of the movie. Like it took that long for them to get it restored into 4K.
Now it's a button-in Final Cut. You just
Right.
you just hit the black and white filter and
Right.
you just save.
But I
yourself
couldn't get
50
some of these
hours.
scenes were just absolutely stunning, of Berlin, of close-up shots of the angel and the trapeze artist, and it was just some really beautiful stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all the shots like with him on the statues, I
Yeah.
thought were great. And even to start off the movie where they have him on the statue, but then they show like the kids on the ground seeing him, I was like, is that really a dude wearing wings up there? Or is that, like a statue? It just looks so cool.
Yeah, it was very
Yeah.
interesting.
Looked awesome.
Yeah, I felt like that one shot of them sitting up on the statue. It looked like a shot from a movie, like from a movie from the 50s.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There was something about it where it definitely looked like it was on a stage, but was a cool effect. I don't even really know what made it look that way, but it kind of had like that feel.
Yeah, the color stuff was cool. I loved where it changed. Like when they first showed the trapeze artist, it like flashed to color when she's swinging, and I was like, "What the hell just happened?" And then later you can see like the reason why. Also, like later in the movie, the other angel is on the steps, and he's in black and white. Did you notice that? Like when
Yes.
he's holding the rope for his trapeze artist underneath, and the angel's just like chilling on the steps in color, but he's in black and white.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Yeah. Proto, next on your list.
So the angels, they have scenes where they're often like talking together, and they're talking about their experience of, experiencing all of time on Earth. They talk about how they are there, and I kind of like it doesn't get too much into like the God stuff. It's more of like, I don't think they even mention God at all, but they're like, we're here to observe and verify and like a few other things. But they have this scene where they're like walking together and they're like reminiscing about like, oh, remember when, this was like Rome occupied this land, and like this used to be a highway at one point, and then it was like a canal, and now it's a river and there's a bridge. And I think they also say like, remember when the human biped like first came out of the sea, so it's like, here are these guys who are like these angels who are confined to this earth, and just like watching all of these lives. Like to think that like these angels have just been observing all of humanity for thousands and thousands or millions of years, is a pretty heady thought. And there was something about that. And I think it's the library. I think it was the library scene, which is like this library. Are you
Oh my
kidding me?
gosh.
Oh my God, the library is insane. I need to go to a library tonight and read a book.
It's like they took a convention center and said, like, let's turn this into a library instead. Unbelievable.
That Berlin it had been something to see.
But there was something about what they were saying that made me like consider my own life and my own eventual death. And I feel like I don't really like dwell on my own death that much. But in that moment, for whatever reason, I had like this tinge of like dread about like dying, which I don't think I haven't like felt that in like a very long time. And I feel like maybe because like life's too busy to even think about those things. But this movie kind of like brought that out of me. And just like the way the angels were talking about like their observation of human life. So that was like kind of a shock. I wasn't expecting to feel something like that.
Goodness.
The alien you mentioned, I said alien.
The alien.
Sorry. I'll get to that in a second. um, the angels talking about, like you mentioned, the biped coming out of the water. That also in and of itself is like a whole different thing of thinking that, God made us in his image on the certain day, and the seventh day he rested. So that was like even a strange thing for it to be in the movie. And like, that was just a whole other, question for you to think about. Like, wait a minute, angels were around, evolution's real. And then like, that whole question is fascinating. But the alien aspect, I don't even know if this will stay in the show. I love Reddit. I love scrolling through Reddit, seeing all this goofy stuff. I started seeing stories about Jimmy Carter. I don't know if this came into your Reddit feed.
What is happening?
What the heck?
Jimmy Carter was apparently, they were talking about Jimmy Carter breaking down in tears because he was briefed on the truth about UFOs. And he's was a religious guy. And it led me down a rabbit hole. Some people were commenting that, so-and-so scientist came out and said that he cried because they revealed that religion is something that the aliens instilled in us centuries ago because they thought it would destroy Earth if they found out about the aliens. So, this is what I'm reading on Reddit on a daily basis. Anyway, Google Jimmy Carter aliens Reddit and search by last 30 days, and you'll read it as well, my friend. Danny, next on your list.
Next on my list, one thing that I wish had taken more time out of the film was, because I really liked it, was the angel becoming human. I felt like he wasn't human for enough of the film for it to kind of matter to me. I think so much of it was so much of him kind of, I don't know. The more I think about it, it's like we have to find him falling in love and then making the big step of becoming human. But there was something about him becoming human, finding her, the end of the movie, that it just felt like it happened, and it wasn't, I don't know, it didn't feel like it was enough of a storyline for me. And I didn't understand her connection to him very well. Like, I don't understand why she was either knew what he looked like, or knew that she was connected to him, or knew that he would find her somehow. I don't know. There was something weird about that storyline that bothered me.
I was going to say, the one aspect of that I really liked was him talking about all the things he would do on his first day of being a human. Like, that was really cool. And
I liked all that stuff.
And then the color changed.
Yeah.
Like on him as they were discussing things. But I want to hear Proto's thoughts about the relationship between the two.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of confusing as well, that she was, it seemed like she knew who he was, almost in a similar way as like Peter Falk kind of knowing him as well.
Right. Then I thought, was she an angel? Like, did she choose to be a human as well? It was just interesting.
Yeah, there was there is the scene in her trailer,
right,
where you're kind of getting her thoughts and like her desires from life. And I love that scene. I thought the sound design in that scene was insane. She put this record on. So she's listening to the record, but then you're hearing her thoughts, and there's like other things that are going on. It was just like a very visceral scene. But one thing she says, she's really talking about, like, I think like wanting to be like seen, and she has this desire to love and wanting to be loved and be seen by somebody. And I think maybe that was like almost the connection, that like when they meet at the bar, he like looks at her and like, connects with her in that way. Because even there's like that scene where after the circus like breaks down and they're around the fire and she's singing with that guy, but they never look at each other. They're like intimate, like they're right next to each other. They're like cuddling with each other. They're singing in unison, but they like never make eye contact. So I thought that was maybe like a clear distinction between, how different it was for her with the angel character when he became a human.
Oh, she does have that moment with him where they're seeing each other. I guess they're not seeing each other, but they look through the mirror at each other. right? Isn't that what they're doing in that one shot where
she
he
was
like sees
crying.
her through the mirror? Yeah.
It was a cool scene.
Yeah.
Her line at the end of that, where was I wrote that down? Where she was talking about like the sadness and the crying and it will come back. I thought that was pretty depressing. Yeah, like the scene with the two of them at the end. I can't remember. Joe in chat, it took so long. I thought the plot summary was wrong. Yeah, I almost their scene together doesn't really happen until the very end of the movie, and that is a long take. It's a long shot of a monologue from her, another kind of pseudo essay. To be honest, it went right over my head. I felt like Homer, the Homer meme of him reading a book titled "Am I Disabled?" Like I couldn't. It was so thick. For me, my Neanderthal brain, so I didn't connect at all with like their big moment, like the big moment that this kind of thing was leading up to. And it just kind of happened and I went on. So it didn't really jive with me that much.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think by the end, it's like this movie's kind of exhausting from the amount of mental effort you need to engage. I would love to watch it again because I feel like I maybe would be better prepared, half knowing what to expect and familiar with the ideas it's going to explore to be able then to listen again.
Yeah.
I mean, the 4K release is in May, so maybe rewatch is on the table.
Yeah, Paul just posted some stills. The version I watched was more black and white than that sepia tone. I watched on HBO Max.
Yeah.
I watched it on Max too, and I think we had the restoration one.
Okay. My number 2 is, I guess I wanted to get into like the idea of like the way the angels tried to soothe and help the humans that were like in need, where they would kind of like listen in and occasionally kind of just lean their head on their shoulder or touch their shoulder with their hand. And there was one guy that was like really negative about his life, and then as the angel consoled him, he kind of like had a thought that like, I can keep going. This isn't really the end of me. And I just thought of like my agnostic self. Like I just have these like thoughts and prayer. Like people talk about thoughts and prayers. Like me personally, I don't think prayers do anything. So at this point of the movie, I was like, oh God, an angel listening to some guy and like helping him. But with that said, later in the movie, they try that again with that guy at the top of the building, and he like tries to soothe and console him, but that guy jumps, and the angel like reacts to that in a visceral way. So that pulled me almost like back into the movie, where it's not your tried and true interpretation of like what an angel could do in those moments. Not that these people were praying necessarily, but I liked that it wasn't really everyone who needed or wanted help got it in a way. Like some people just, it didn't happen for them. So I like that interpretation of the film. Pardo, number 3.
There's a lot in this about the identity of the German people. There's a monologue. I think it starts with like a cab driver, and then kind of just like goes on from there for a while. But it's talking about how leaders have failed them. And I think it's pretty much a direct, reference to Hitler and just the rise of Nazism in Germany. But saying that like now it says like every German person has to be their own state, and every person knows that every decision they make has to be their own, because they can't rely on anyone else or make those same mistakes again. And then like this movie that Peter Falk is in, that they're shooting, it involves, there's actors in costumes who are dressed as Nazi officers. And then there's Jewish characters there with the Star of David on. And there's this whole monologue about like the past. And then there's the Berlin Wall that they show. And even like of him becoming human, he passes through the wall and is like dropped off there. So there's a lot of symbolism around that. And again, this is like another thing where I feel like probably 80% of it went over my head. But it's like it's there, and I found it like really fascinating and really something that you would have to like spend time to chew on. And I think I appreciate when movies are willing to do that and like kind of give you. I think I'm finding that I do like movies that can be dense like this, that have a lot to stew on. I'm not much of a rewatcher though, so I don't know what that means. Like if I'll go back and watch this again. But I like when a movie is willing to kind of like go to these depths with these ideas. And maybe as like like if I was, you grew up in Berlin or like during this time, it would be, it'd be more clear what these things are referencing and how they relate to you. But, I wonder about that. Like if you live through these times, if you're like 60 years old and you're living in Berlin in the 80s, you were alive during, during the World War II. So just like what those feelings would be and what watching this movie would mean is really fascinating.
Yeah. Like would any of us or anyone listening pass a pop quiz on the Berlin Wall? Probably not. Like my only memory is maybe David Hasselhoff singing on the Berlin Wall, probably. and even then, I don't even know if that was a Reddit thread that I read on
Jimmy Carter crying over David Hasselhoff
on the Alien subreddit.
That was a Baywatch episode.
Speaking of which, I feel like I found a Reddit thread that is near to what I was reading. So if I just posted it in chat.
Oh my gosh.
It was on the Alien subreddit. Okay, everyone calm down.
Bookmarking this for later.
Jimmy Carter always in our thoughts on this podcast.
And prayers.
Danny, number 3.
I think we've exhausted this movie in my
honorable mentions. Final rating.
The actress that played Marion, I forget her name. She was actually Wim's girlfriend at the time, and she learned 8 weeks of training of the trapeze to actually do all the little stunts, which I thought was fascinating. Wow. Peter Falk drawing, I loved watching him.
Oh my God,
sketching, loved that bit. The gash on the angel's head, he needed to go instantly to a hospital. So much blood. That's about it. I did like this film. I agree that I liked the denseness of it. I was okay with it going over my head for a while. But by the end, I really wasn't terribly thrilled with just the amount of time we spent with him as a human. I really wanted more of that. But visually, it's a gorgeous film. I really want to see the 4K. I'm at 3.5 stars for this.
3.5 stars. Wow.
Beautiful.
Is Peter Falk, like, I haven't done any research on this. Is he like an artist? Are there like sketches floating out and about on Google of like Peter Falk draws X, Y, Z?
I don't know, but when they showed that picture of the guy he drew, it's a damn good.
It was amazing.
It's a damn good sketch.
Yeah.
So if Peter could draw like that,
I'm Peter Falk. My honorable mentions: the dad's living room. When it was like, whose house was that? The dad. He was watching TV. He was walking through. Oh, the kid with the music. He was playing the rock and roll music. James Dean.
Oh yeah.
James Dean's dad. That TV setup, the design of that room was so good. Why am I me? I thought that was. I liked when they didn't dig in enough to those kind of questions for me. I wanted a little bit more of that. I know so little, maybe because I'm too curious. I thought that was a cool line. The library looks rad.
Those globes.
Oh, there was a moment where one of the angels stepped in front of a statue and like the stone wings were on his back for like a half second. It was so cool. The guy giving him money for coffee after he becomes human. Can you imagine that happening today?
Yeah.
What person would offer him cash?
A bleeding man.
Yeah. No. You do well to walk away from that bleeding man. 2023.
Only in Berlin.
You have to find out for yourself. That's the fun of it, Peter Falk says. We haven't talked about him, his angel buddy reading his thoughts. Remember, because he's like, he walks around the kind of circus area looking for her and just sits there. And now you're hearing him kind of being very similar to the people that he was listening to. Thought that was interesting. Maybe the first time I've ever heard Nick Cave sing or any of Nick Cave's music. Another thing I'd probably get given a wedgie from people, Nick Cave fans listening. Sorry. Their long combo, I have no clue what's going on. This was a very tough watch. Halfway through, I couldn't believe that there was still another hour left. I felt like I had watched 3 hours of it. It's my bravery. I'm at 3 stars for this movie.
That's good.
It didn't connect with me as much as I thought it might, because I mean, this is, you look at this page on Letterboxd, it's in the top 250. So many 4.5 stars, 5
This
stars.
is in the top 250.
Yeah, this is like 91 or something.
Top 100.
It's up there. Correct me if I'm incorrect. But
heavens,
yeah,
indeed.
for me personally, some interesting themes, but the execution and the writing just didn't hit for me. So that's my take. Pardo?
3 stars is good. The opening credits,
Gorgeous.
I love.
Yeah.
The scratchy font. I also, did you guys notice it said assistant director Claire Denis?
I did see that. Yeah. Went on to have a very accomplished career.
Yeah, I think the trapeze stuff was amazing when they had the little circus performance for the kids and then the angels sitting there. There were just so many interesting scenes of like these angels. Like, do they ever sleep? They've just been like at this for millions of years.
How about that jacket that he got after he traded in his armor? That ghastly jacket.
No way. I want that jacket.
Yeah, I also thought that was interesting, the transition, especially also with like the Nick Cave stuff in the club, how it felt. There was almost like this, when it was black and white and he was an angel, there was almost like this timeless feeling. Like I couldn't tell if this was like the 80s or not. But then when he becomes a human and he's at the club and you're listening to Nick Cave, it felt very modern suddenly.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really compelling, how it was able to almost like feel like you're pulled out of like this angel realm and here you are now in the real world. It almost felt like a different movie to me. I thought that was really cool, the way that felt. Comparing childhood to adulthood and how your perception changes. There was, a bunch about that, which I found, really compelling and thought-provoking. When did time begin and where does space end?
That's a huge question.
Kidding me? Oh yeah, and then so the trapeze artist, her name is trying to pronounce it, Solveig de Martin. She also stars in Until the End of the World, which is one of Wenders' other movies that I've seen. Which I would love for somebody to watch that at some point.
Somebody please help Pardo out and watch that movie.
It's like 4 hours long, so it's such an investment, but it's just wild. And it's hard to believe that other people it's not like viewed that much.
Pete in chat says he'll watch it. You have one person.
Isn't that also a U2 song?
It is.
Until the End of the World? Is it also Wenders?
Banger.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, at this point, you can take like 3 random words and you have a U2 song. Anyway, I'm at 4 stars.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I had a great time watching this. I think it is a lot. It's exhausting by the end of it, but to me, I mean, I want to the poetry that I was like, am I getting back into reading poetry?
Oh,
I was about to buy a book of poetry the other today, so we'll see. Stay tuned. But yeah, I enjoyed it.
Okay. Wings of Desire officially kicking off the month. We did it. We're flying high right now. Kicking off this month. Flying very high. And I'm next for my
We're going to fly too close to the sun, I think.
My God.
Oh, boy.
I think we're flying too close to the sun.
Oh,
with this
my
pick.
God. This is hard. This is
Where are we
very
going?
hard because I had one that I really wanted to do. I'm still hopeful that it'll get picked.
Do you want to say it?
I don't know. Maybe. Well, I don't know. I don't know if our guests will pick it. I don't know if you'll pick it. I don't want to
I could be swayed.
I don't want to deflate the idea of a pick. Pardo, do you think I should say which was my B?
what you're picking now will determine my pick next week.
I know. That's also what I'm thinking of, too. Pro, do you want to hear my B or should I just continue on my diatribe?
Give us your diatribe and then give us your B.
Okay.
So, because we don't want to change your.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
So we talked about how like this holy month, but then also I compared it to like Contact. So like, and this movie touches on that. Like, it's not just like religion. I want to like have us talk about movies that are something like more than, not to everyone calm down. But like, what else is out there? What else could be out there?
Aliens.
Like existential deep questions.
Aliens.
So I'm really excited about this pick.
Are you picking Stargate?
This wasn't even in my list until today.
Oh my gosh.
And I thought, how could we not, during the last temptation of 70mm month, choose this movie from 2014, directed by Christopher Nolan.
No, you.
Interstellar.
Oh, what?
Danny is shocked. Danny is shocked.
What?
I knew as soon as this movie came into my head, I was like, this is the perfect this is the perfect pick for this month. Perfect pick. And not only that, but I have made some calls.
No way.
I pulled up the phone to former producer of this show, Ian. Ian will be joining us next week for Interstellar.
Are you serious?
We're getting the band back together for Interstellar.
One last time.
The frog is in the house.
I cannot believe this.
Oh, wow. It's happening.
So that's my pick. Streaming on Paramount Plus.
I saw a review come in for Interstellar last week, and I thought, man, I need to rewatch this because it's been years since I've seen that.
Yeah.
So
this is big.
God,
this is very.
And you
great.
know what? Because you picked this, my pick is changing next week. And I'm not saying Interstellar was my pick. I'll explain next week.
No, I understand what you're putting down.
Wink, wink.
Right.
Okay.
But now I do have a pick locked for next week.
He's locked.
Bless.
He's locked. So like when I was thinking about this, because there's other movies that I really want us to do where like my plan B was like, I really want to do my plan B pick. So I was thinking like, can we like weasel in a bonus episode somewhere? We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. There's a 4K of Interstellar. Is it 4K on Paramount?
Oh, it's 4K, baby.
I don't even know. Does Paramount even do 4K? I have no idea. Christopher Nolan. This is the big one, folks. Oh, subs 4K, it says on Just Watch. Matthew McConaughey, Anne Hathaway, Jessica Chastain, Michael Caine back on the main feed where he belongs. John Lithgow, Matt Damon. This is the one that changed everything. Remember the trailer? Do you remember the trailer to Interstellar?
Do
you remember it?
I remember sitting in a theater seeing Interstellar, and I think I grabbed Casey's arm, and I'm like, I have to see this movie.
Maybe the greatest trailer of all time. I mean,
stay tuned.
How is there a picture of Kermit in a spacesuit? So Ian, former producer of this show, he's everywhere these days. He's making business deals, Web3,
the Louvre.
He's a very busy guy, but he's going to make time for us next week. Very excited. His first appearance, I believe, since our Stranger Things season 4 episode. Very popular episode, I might add.
Oh my God, what a time.
Huge.
His first appearance post Cinenauts as well.
We're in our post Cinenauts.
They have a backlog. And if anyone wants to hit the backlog of Cinenauts, he's just Web3 is very busy work. It's busy. Next week, Interstellar. Proto, any closing thoughts as we kick off this very big month?
Oh my God, I can't believe we're doing Interstellar. I can't stop thinking about it.
I would like to make an announcement is that in this year, we watched a previous movie that had a cameo with Peter Falk in it. In that time, I labeled him my sleep paralysis demon.
Oh.
But I think after seeing this movie, after watching Columbo earlier, we did a pilot season episode on that, I can officially say that he is no longer a demon in my life.
Oh.
maybe more of an angel.
Oh my.
Oh my.
So, thank you, Peter Falk.
You're welcome, Proto.
Peter, thank you.
We'll see everybody next week for Interstellar. "70mm" is a tape deck production featuring original artwork provided by Danny Haas. Spiritual guidance and V'ger, the robot who loves movies, provided by Pertalexis. Producer at large, Dale_A. Transcripts provided by Sophie Shin and music composed by Cinematrix. Prints and other merch are available on 70mmpod.com. This episode was mixed, edited, and produced by me, Slim. Support our Patreon for access to our VHS Village Discord to talk movies with new friends, access to our exclusive episodes in the 70mm vault, discounts on merch, uncut episodes, and a physical membership card mailed to you. To check out other Tape Deck podcasts, find the link in the episode notes. And if you'd like to support our friends at Letterboxd and upgrade to Pro or Patron status, you can do so with a 20% off discount using the links on 70mmpod.com. Goodbye.
This is a Tape Deck podcast.